2 piece at the subscribe button. You already know how we do, man. Yo, what's poppin', everybody? How everybody doing? Salute, salute. Iraq 152. Salute. That's my boy right there. Official DJ Shook Bryant. Rob 2G. What's poppin'? E Dog. That's my dude right there. What's poppin', E Dog? Shout it out, New York, New York. Ladybug, what's up, man? Alan Abreu, salute, salute. That Sheena girl, salute, salute. Shantice, salute. We in here. James S. That's a fact. Black Magic 100. Lucifer Brim. Howard Anderson. What's poppin'? Jarimus Casco. Vincent Rodriguez. Long time 978. E Dog. OG Rand. Salute. Go slow. What's poppin'? Spark Love. That's a fact, Roddy Butler. F3, I see you. Brad Hauser, what's poppin', boy? Lobos United, salute. 32 Savage, peace, almighty. That's Sphinx, what's poppin'? Yeah, we in the building today, man. I was doing a little studying today, man, on as you can see in my back. Double Division, salute. Luke Kane Smoke, salute. And yo, as you can see in my background, we in the 1700s, 1300s. We way back in the days, man, because I be getting a lot of like I got a lot of the news channels like the CNNs and medical news TVs and all of them, and I get announcements when they posting something new up. So when I woke up this morning, I saw another thing on the coronavirus. But because I read the back of the Clorox wipes, and in the back of the Clorox wipes, it talks about the coronavirus, that the Clorox wipes or Lysol wipes, Lysol wipes. If you look on the back of the canister of the Lysol wipes, it tells you that it kills the coronavirus. Salute, Big Max. Blaze Bliggs, what's poppin'? Yeah, Lysol can too. Yeah, that's a fact. So this was already on these cans. So now you say to yourself, that's a fact, that she the girl. So if what kind of confused me was the way it's so out there right now that it made me do some research on it because I really wanted to know about this virus. You know what I'm saying? Bank Youngs Rodriguez, salute. I appreciate that. Bro. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to make sure that I understand this virus. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like a real big thing right now. You know what I'm saying? And I started to do research. You know what I'm saying? And the coronavirus actually has a link. And when you hit on the link, you will see that its origin is deeper than what we think. And it's in a relation, might be not the same, but it's in relation to something that we had in the past. So I want to show everybody something. How do I do that again? Yeah. Share screen. Okay. So now, check this out right here. You can see it? So they can see me scrolling. All right. So now they call this one here a history of the plague in China from ancient times to now and now. So it says first they felt pain all over their body, next a lump, sometimes as small as a pea, other times as big as an apple, protruded from their skin. Then, as the disease spread throughout their body, they coughed up blood. Finally, for many of them came death. That was how many. That's how people hundreds of years ago described the Black Death, which began sweeping across Europe in the 14th century, killing up to 60% of the continent's population in one of the worst pandemics in human history. Today, many of us think of the plague as something confined to the history books, a grim symbol of the medieval period before doctors knew about the existence of viruses or bacteria. But this month, 3 people in China were diagnosed with 2 different forms of plague, highlighted that while the plague is not as serious an issue as it once was, it is not entirely a thing of the past. Neither is debate about the cause of the disease, how it spread, and even where it came from. See that? You can see that picture? See all these people, they all died or either dead. And then you got people here that's trying to save them, but they're trying to save them by, religious stuff and all that, trying to pray over them and all that, but really that's no hope for them, you know? So it says humans have been hit by 3 major plague pandemics over the past 2,000 years, resulting in nearly 200 million deaths. The first pandemic was in the 6th century during the reign of Byzantine Emperor Justinian I. The second, which was known as the Black Death, swept through medieval Europe starting from the 14th century. The third pandemic began in China in the 19th century and spread to other parts of Asia and the United States. In the Middle Ages, many thought the disease had been sent by God as a punishment for their sins. By the 20th century, scientists were pretty sure that all 3 pandemics were caused by the bacteria Yersinia pestis, which is found in small mammals and fleas. They knew that there was a number of varieties of Yersinia pestis, the most common of which are phenomic and bubonic, the type that cause large sores. But during the 1970s and 1980s, historians and biologists began pointing out that the second pandemic didn't act like the third pandemic in a significant way. It killed many more people. That prompt people to posit that another disease had caused the Black Death, said historian Winston Black, who is writing a book that busts a number of plague theories. So now, as you can see, right, we Europe went through what's called the Black Plague. Now, the Black Plague is interesting. Now, right now, we're going through the coronavirus. And the coronavirus, what they saying was it stemmed in China. The documented cases of his existence at first, when it first started to get famous, that it came from China. But in history, with the Black Death, they saying that the Black Death also came from Asia because it was carried on by sailors on the boats. When they came off the boats, they infected the people on the land that where they came off. So now, let me show you something else. Yeah, so now what I was trying to show y'all is the history of it, right? I'm gonna show y'all the history on there's a history on it. Now when they say the largest hysteria over coronavirus in Italy is reminiscent of the Black Death. For those of you who don't know, the coronavirus is now in Italy. And so what they're doing over there is they're quarantining the people. They're going through it right now in Italy. Because now what's happening is that they're quarantining everybody. So what they're saying is the largest European outbreak of coronavirus is now in Italy, where it has infected more than 150 people and killed 6. In response, the government has quarantined 11 towns. That's 11 towns that they quarantining over there. In response, the government has quarantined 11 towns, shuttered schools, called off football games, and advised citizens to avoid leaving home altogether. Frantic citizens preparing for the worst have emptied the grocery stores. So they over there, they're panicking right now. Alarm over the disease is fueling hysteria and discrimination. A panicked search for the so-called patient zero, the first to bring the virus into the country, is being described by the Italian media as a hunt. Briefly, authorities thought they identified the culprit, a man who had recently traveled to China, but all tests on him turned out negative. So they got the people quarantined in their homes over there while they look for the first person to bring that over there. Imagine that. You can't leave your house because they trying to find out who is the person that brought it over there. They say Chinese and Asian communities have been targeted by boycotts, threats, and even violent attacks. The leader of the country's far-right political party called for an end to all travel between Italy and China. And then in a non-sequitur, also called for closing harbors to migrants from African countries too. Prejudice against Chinese communities is a problem the world over. In the United States, for instance, residents are avoiding restaurants in the Chinatowns of major cities, but Italy, especially, fertile ground for this kind of racism. And the way people are reacting to the epidemic brings to mind an episode of Italian history from hundreds of years ago in the very same areas that are now on lockdown, the plague. So it's funny how, or should I say not funny, I'm going to say it's interesting how it's hitting the same area that it hit years ago. It's hitting the same exact area. A century or two after, centuries later. At the turn of the 17th century, the plague tore across Italy, and nowhere was the hysteria more hysterical than in Milan, mostly due to old conspiracy theory dating back to the 1300s that nefarious people deliberately spread disease through ointments and powders they would superstitiously spread on people's doors and walls. So now, it's crazy right now over in Italy right now because the people are locked in their houses, and I think they're on limited type of movement to where if they got to get food or if they need medical attention. So they turning these towns basically into jails. Because you can't go nowhere when you're under quarantine. So when they quarantine these towns, and the crazy part about it is they looking for one person or maybe another person. And this is not, I can't really say this for sure because I'm not medically inclined to say that, but here they're saying one person, but I would assume that they're trying to find maybe another person who got infected by that one person, and maybe it'll lead them to that person. But I'm not sure. So it's getting serious in Europe right now, especially now in Italy, because Italy got hit with the Black Death. So you already see it, but the interesting part is that it's happening in the same place again. But its origin, right? I know everybody say to themselves, like, where is the origin of this? Like, where is it really coming from? Right? So I asked myself that, so I decided to say, hold on, let me see something. So now I went to CNN when they was talking about a mass grave. You know what I'm saying? There was a mass grave that they found. And in this mass grave were the bodies of the people, of some of the people that died during the Black Plague. Because basically what they was doing, they was just burying them in the ground. They didn't have a real ceremonial way of putting the dead away. They would just bury them in the ground and keep it moving. But they say that the sweeping scourge of the Black Death in the 14th century England was so great it forced city-dwelling victims out to countryside hospitals based on the tragic findings in a mass grave in Lincolnshire, England. Right? And as a matter of fact, hold on. Let me see something if I can put this on. All right. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show y'all so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Now you see here. You can see it. The sweeping scourge of the Black Death in 14th century England was so great it forced city-dwelling victims out to countryside hospitals based on the tragic findings in a mass grave in Lincolnshire, England. The remains of 48 people, including 21 children, were found at a previously unknown Black Death mass grave site at Dalton Abbey, according to a new study. In less than 2 years, the Black Death claimed nearly half the lives of people in England between 1348 and 1349. Mass graves in England's large medieval cities have shown how overwhelmed they were, but small rural communities weren't known to have these mass graves until now. The 48 people in the mass grave were buried over a few days, but those at the medieval hospital attached to Thorn Abbey took the time to carefully wrap each person in a burial shroud and place them individually so that they weren't overlapping. It was piling bodies. You see that? That's what the grave looks like. Can they see it? Let me see. Yeah. So that's what the graves look like. You know what I'm saying? Those are all the people that they found under the ground. These were people that These were the people that were found under the ground. You see that? Now, later medieval Black Death cemeteries are surprisingly rare in England. The authors of the study wrote, the mass grave at Thornton Abbey is set apart from other 14th century examples by its rural location and monastic association. The researchers believe that victims of the Black Death fled the overcrowded cities and overwhelmed hospitals there, only to die at the Abbey and its hospital shortly after their journey. An analysis of the teeth recovered from 16 of the remains revealed Yersinia pestis DNA, the pathogen for the Black Death. It's the same strain from the outbreak that affected London based on DNA recovered from mass graves there. And because the grave site appears to have been disturbed at some point in its history, the researchers believe the mass grave may actually be larger and contain more Black Death victims. Thornton Abbey was founded in 1139 in the Lincolnshire countryside and did well thanks to an association with the wool trade. Henry VII, or the eighth, closed it during the dissolution of the monasteries in 1539, and at its height it was one of the richest. Medieval hospitals were religious institutions that provided a variety of services to the needy, including assisting pilgrims, providing alms to the people, and helping the sick and dying, the authors wrote. Now, as you see, they say the people were aged from 1 to 45 years old at the time of death, with many of them, see right here, that's the bones right here that they uncovered. This was a Black Death victim. Now, and although no babies younger than 12 were found, researchers believe the softer remains wouldn't have been preserved anyway. Monasteries also struggled as emergency areas and cemeteries opened in the larger cities. About 11 miles from Thornton, Meux Abbey, monks suffered from the Black Death and 80% of them died. This may have left Thornton as only one of the only local options. So they're uncovering now mass graves of these people. They're uncovering mass graves of these people that died back then because of the plague. Now, it's very much in relation to what we're going with now. But I read somewhere in here, and this is what made it interesting to me. Trying to see if it's in this one right here. Because from what they're saying is that it's been coming from Asia for the longest of times. They said it came from sailors that was coming from Asia, which is crazy because now it's coming from China is part of Asia, if I'm correct, and it's coming from there again. You know, it's interesting, and then it's spreading. It's interesting. You're welcome, Nikki. Now, another thing that I discovered, and I wanted to show everybody, is yeah, this is the one I wanted to show everybody. That's a fact. So now, when you look at the history, you say to yourself, which one, how they all relate. Now, they all relate because in a way, form, or fashion, they were in infectious diseases. Now, so we know about the coronavirus. We know about the Black Plague. Now, here's something to think about. Have you ever heard about the history of the vampire? Like Dracula and all that stuff? Has how many people? I know, I'm sure a lot of people have heard about Dracula, the vampire story, and all that stuff. Now, I want to show you something about that because it came to my mind when I even to my mind it came. Watch this. All right. So now watch this. So now when we're talking about vampires, where did they get that theory of with the vampire and that you get bit and you turn into a vampire and that whole story in itself, right? So watch this. You see it? Now watch this. See, they say vampires and rabies. What's the link? At first, there appears to be little to link a mythical blood-sucking beast in serious medical condition. However, as we shall see, the two could be very much entwined. Vampires are so entrenched in our sight that there's probably not one adult in the whole of the Western world that doesn't know who Dracula is. There is something about these nocturnal, blood-crazed characters that captivates our imaginations. But where did the legend come from? According to some researchers, the origin of the vampire myth could be rooted in a very real menace, rabies. Rabies is a deadly virus that is transmitted to humans by the bite of an infected animal. Globally, it kills an estimated 59,000 per year. That equates to almost one death per every 9 minutes. Initial symptoms are only flu-like, but once they appear, rabies is almost always fatal. Creatures that carry the virus include skunks, dogs, coyotes, foxes, and you guessed it, vampire bats. But that's not the connection with mythical vampires that we are discussing today. In the 1700s, vampires were not just legends. As far as normal folk were connected, vampires were a genuine worry. As Voltaire said, vampires were the sole matter of conversion between 1730 and 1735. And just so happens that there was a rabies epidemic in Hungary in the 1720s, the very time and place where the vampire legend appears to have taken root. But similarities run deeper still. The following links were made by Dr. J. Gomez Alonso, a Spanish neurologist who published his intriguing theory in the journal Neurology in 1998. Below we outline some of his major observations. In male afflictions, vampires are almost depicted as male, and rabies affects men 7 times more often than women. Biting. Individuals with rabies, particularly aggressive, and sometimes bite or attempt to bite other people. Also, once a vampire bites you, you become one of them, as is the case with rabies. It is by being bitten that the virus is commonly spread. However, it is very rarely transmitted by human to human bite. Aversions. Rabies might cause people to become averse to strong or surprisingly stimuli, including odors such as garlic, light, and mirrors. In fact, according to Gonzo Gomez Alonso's paper, a man was not considered rabid if he was able to stand the sight of his own image in the mirror. When someone with rabies comes in contact with such stimuli, their face can become contorted as the facial muscles spasm. Their lips curl back to display their teeth, and their vocal cords may contract, producing hoarse sounds. They might also froth or bleed from the mouth. Insomnia and wandering. Rabies sometimes makes it difficult for the afflicted to sleep, and they therefore become prone to night wandering. Hypersexual. Vampires have a reputation for being rather lascivious. Similarly, people with rabies can easily be aroused. This is thought to be because the virus influences the limbic system, which controls emotions and behavior. In some cases, men with rabies can experience priapism, which is a painful erection that lasts sometimes for days. Transformation. Vampires are often depicted turning into other animals, the bat being the most common. Animals with rabies behave in much the same way as humans with rabies. It is not too much of a leap of imagination to think that somebody living in the 18th centuries who saw a human and an animal acting similarly might make some kind of link. They might assume that animal and beast were morphing into each other. After death, when someone dies from rabies, it is commonly due to asphyxia or cardiorespiratory arrest. In these cases, blood can remain liquid for some time after. Based off the vampire-based concerns of the day, bodies were often dug up to check that they weren't vampires. Seeing liquid oozing might raise concerns. So now, you see that? Rabies was an infectious disease that wasn't Hungary. Look at that. So now we're talking about a disease that spreads, a disease that spread, and then a story was made around it. But what I was trying to see was all these diseases related, and the threats of these diseases, how these diseases threaten them. Well, for example, New York City. New York City has a lot of rats, and a lot of those rats have rabies. You see what I'm saying? When you go to the train station, you see rats running up and down the tracks. Sometimes you even see them in the train car. So when it comes to diseases, there's many ways of transferring the disease. They said the West Nile virus was transferred through what? Mosquito. Because the mosquito bites somebody, sucks their blood, and then again goes and bites somebody else to transfer their blood to them while sucking their blood, infects their blood, and they become infected with the virus. So through animals itself and insects, the virus can be transferred to a multitude of people, and then when those people get sick, it just gets worse and worse. So now when you go to the origin, or you start to see where the origin is at, you start to say to yourself, like, a lot of this stuff comes from Asia. And it's funny because every time I used to see a lot of Asian people, they always used to have those masks on. Even here in the United States, you'll see them have those masks on, and I'll be bugging like, oh, maybe they got a cold and they don't want to spread the cold instead of sneezing in their arm or on my shoulder. But then as I started to look, I started to see that the disease, the coronavirus, the reason the disease got so strong is because they didn't think of it as much of a threat. And when it came to symptoms of it, the symptoms were looked at like non-threatening. And when they looked at it in that form and fashion, what it did was it created It created those to ignore that those symptoms could get worse. And once those symptoms start to get worse, what happens is that it becomes widespread because people interact with each other. People interact with, yeah, like the measles too. That's a fact, DJ Shook Bryant. So it's like it goes to show that on one side it could be a weapon of mass destruction, but on the other side, it's something that automatically it's embedded in the world. And our way of countering it is better practices of living. You know, in a lot of these third world countries, especially in the countryside of China and stuff like that, you know, they do eat dogs. You know, you go any National Geographic or you can Google it. You know, there's a lot of places where they eat dogs, cats, everything, because they live off the land. You know, and I know that in a lot of countries, you know, they try to they modernize the cities, but the countries aren't modernized. The countries stay the same. So they ain't going into the country part and building houses and all that. Country people gonna live how the country people been living. You know what I'm saying? But these viruses that been outbreaks in so many years, you know, the thing about them is that they all have some type of relation, and the relation that they come from is how you live. They actually eat bats. They probably do eat bats. Oh, the crazies? Yes. Another thing, that's what that's a good point. And good point, April D, because I meant to talk about that too. So just like a couple of weeks ago, we was watching the movie The Crazies. And my opinion is that these movies prepare us for things. Resident Evil, Return of the Living Dead, and so on and so on. These are all movies on what? Infectious diseases that turn people over, should I say. You know what I'm saying? It's what turned people over. So, you know, we got to be very careful of the things that we eat. We got to be careful of the things we drink. You know, I ain't gonna lie, after doing my research on that, you know, we got to remember the United States grows their own products also, but they also get products from overseas. And the problem with that is, like, for example, if products are coming from China, now what? People are not going to want to open it in their house. They're going to want to open it outside somewhere because they're going to feel like it might be carrying some type of disease. You see what I'm saying? But if, like I said, in all these movies, they tell us about this stuff. I guess in a certain kind of way, they're trying to prepare us for that. EW Connect Video Asia. Yeah. It's just food. Everything in Walmart is made in China. It might be. I'm not sure. Oh, the deers. That's a good one too. Terrible content. No, who said that? What's that? What disease was that when they said beware of deers because they was carrying it? Desicalepsy, ticks.
No, Lyme disease.
Oh, Lyme disease. Excuse me, Lyme disease. But the Lyme disease was carried by the ticks. Am I correct? Yeah. So that's like me. I got to be careful out here because I live in the woods. So the problem is that, you know, I be seeing deers on a regular. So you got to be careful that a tick don't jump from the deer onto you, because that's one way of getting Lyme disease. Another problem in the city is bed bugs. You know, when people get bed bug infestations, that's a problem too, because bed bugs carry diseases. They suck blood. So, for example, you rent a room somewhere, and after you've been in that room, you decide to move out because they had a bed bug infestation or whatever. The dude will probably gonna wipe down the room, maybe vacuum the rug, change the sheets or whatever, and rent the room again. The next person that sits in that bed or lays in that bed, now that person is gonna get bit, and now the blood of the person that was there previously is still in that bed bug. So now it's gonna transfer through the bite, the blood of the other individual onto him. Yes, they be in the leaves too. So, it's all about, I would say it's all about the way we live and how careful we are. You know what I'm saying? Because when I look at the times and the way these people were living, if you seen the picture I showed you before, they was just dead bodies thrown or piled up on top of each other, and you're walking by dead bodies, decomposing right there on out in the open until somebody comes and gets it and takes it away. So, it's all on how you carry yourself. You got to carry yourself in a manner where you're cautious about, like I said, how you eat, what you drinking. Don't you notice that they promote more drinking bottled water? Because I don't think, to me, there's no system that can really clean those waters. For example, uh, in New York, you got water that runs through the Hudson. You telling me you clean all that garbage in there? Mm. Then you had the situation. What was that? Michigan. I think Michigan had Flint, Michigan. They had a situation in their water over there also. That's a fact. Corona always been here. And the reason it's mutated is because, like I said, they didn't pay attention to it because they thought it wasn't that serious. They thought it was, because now they got, like I said, they got products that kills it. That's a fact. April D. Michigan Flint. Yep. They had a problem with their water over there too. And the crazies, when you look at the movie The Crazies, these people started getting going crazy because of what they drank in the water. It's not clean. They what's up, Jared? It's not clean. They not have a good sewer system. Back in the 1700s, speed spread easy. Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Disease spread very easily because of the technology and the medical expertise that they had at the time. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at it, you say to yourself, this is interesting how, as centuries and how populations evolve, and being that they knew of what their past was, they they invented of ways of how to combat the situation. But you gotta look at what this thing does. So right now in Italy, you got people that are quarantined in their homes, while the government looks for that one individual source that is transforming the disease to all other people. So they probably knocking on doors, testing everybody, and until they test everybody and figure out who's the host, that's what it's called, the host. They're gonna have everybody quarantined, no school, limited movement. You probably got a sign to go to anywhere you go, just to make sure. Salute, see. So now, when I look at it, like when I did my research, now I see that back then it was just more harder to contain. But nowadays we see some of the similarities from back then, even though technology is up. So it shows you that if you're not adamant about what you do, even if the technology is up, if you don't still take the seriousness of something that came through and terrorized the people through its infection, this is what happens. You have outbreaks. And because of the traveling, now it comes from one place to another. And it mutates and becomes stronger. The zombie disease.
Wasn't that a movie?
I'm not sure about that one. I can look it up.
Oh wait, no, I think that's right. It makes the deer walk around. I don't think it's contagious.
I'm saying zombie. Oh yeah. Yep. That's a fact. It's called chronic wasting disease, CWD, popularly known as zombie disease. So zombie disease is like the AKA for it. It's like what people call it. Has been reported in at least 24 states in the continental United States as of August 2019, in addition to 2 Canadian provinces. CWD was first discovered in 1967, and since then it has spread geographically, increased in prevalence locally. No cases of CWD have been reported in humans, but studies have shown it can be transmitted to animals other than deer, including primates. According to the CDC, for humans, eating infected deer meat will be most likely way for it to spread to people. So look at that. Hold up, I'm gonna put it so y'all can see it. You know what I'm saying? Cause this is crazy right here. Hold on. There it is right here. Y'all see that? So they say chronic wasting disease, properly known as zombie deer disease, has been reported in at least 24 states in the continental U.S. as of August 2019, in addition to 2 Canadian provinces. CWD is a neurodegenerative that can affect members of the cervid family, which includes deer, elk, reindeer, and moose, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Think the disease is the result of infection with mysterious pathogens known as abnormal prion proteins, which damage normal proteins in the brain and spinal. Prion infections, such as mad cow disease, cause rapid neurological degeneration after the onset of symptoms. CWD in particular cases holds to develop in the brain of infected animals, producing symptoms such as progressive weight loss, listlessness, drooling, lack of awareness, lack of fear, and aggression. In all cases, the disease is fatal to the animal. However, many don't live long enough to experience many of the purportedly zombie-like symptoms. As you see down here, it says currently there have been no cases of CWD reported in humans. However, scientists say that more research is needed to understand whether or not people can indeed become infected. In any case, health authorities stress that the utmost precautions should be taken to prevent human exposure in order to mitigate any risk that may exist. Now you see here, those warnings are especially pertinent given that many people doubted mad cow disease could affect people during an outbreak in the UK before transmission to humans was documented after a period of several years. This is crazy, yo. Look at that. See that? It's crazy. So now you see they got all kinds of diseases that come around us, that live around us. Oh, hold on, who's that? Nikki, salute. No problem, salute. I got you, Nikki. Thank you. Appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta stay, you know what I'm saying? We gotta stay abreast of these things, man. You know what I mean? Like these are things that live around us, that go back and forth around us, that travel around us. These are the things that we got around us. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta watch what we eat. We gotta watch what we drink. We gotta watch who we integrate with, should I say. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of poisons and diseases that live amongst us. And if we're not careful of the way we eat and live, you could be a victim of those diseases. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we got towns in Italy that are being quarantined. Imagine what those people are going through at this moment as we speak. Can't leave their house. You know what I'm saying? They're looking for a host. So, you know, that's crazy. They probably coming around all suited up, guns and all that, looking for that one person that spread the virus. And then people know the history of the Black Plague and how the Black Plague killed millions of people. They say it's one of the worst pandemonic in history. Yet it still exists. You see what I'm saying? The strain still exists. They got 3 of them in China right now. You see what I'm saying? So as the strain lives, the strain is the host. You know what I'm saying? You would figure that by this time they would contain the host. That's why they need the host. Because when the host is either killed or quarantined or contained, it cannot spread unless it spreads to the other people and the other people spread it. Then the host is really not as important as he or she may have been. They always walk towards and into water with it. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, you got to be careful how you eat, live, and all that. You know what I'm saying? If you rent a room, make sure that when you rent a room, um, make sure that you clean the room, that you look at the room, check the mattresses. A lot of time, the mattresses that have the plastic on it, you got to look in that plastic, make sure there's no bed bugs in there. If you rent in a room, you know what I'm saying? Because you got a lot of buildings in the city that look nice on the outside, but they still way mad old on the inside because those apartments were passed down through generations. and they're not able to really fix those apartments unless those people want them fixed, and usually they don't say nothing. So the only thing they're responsible is for the outside. You see what I'm saying? So on the outside, you know, it looks nice, but on the inside, you gotta be careful. Another thing is like for those of us woods people, you know what I'm saying, you gotta watch out with the ticks and the deers. You know what I'm saying? I always want to pet the deer, you know what I'm saying, but wifey be like, and I'll be like, damn man, just to pet the deer? You know what I mean? It's real serious, man. I thought you could just pet the deer, but they telling me don't stay away from the deer. You know what I'm saying? Because they carry ticks, and ticks lead to Lyme disease.
See what wildlife said?
Huh?
Wildlife. What do you see this said?
In Manhattan.
It's over.
Wow.
It's over.
So now they got it in Manhattan. You see? But I bet you they ain't gonna quarantine in Manhattan because it's a moneymaker. So the hoax is gonna run around and spread it. This is why I say you gotta be careful. Me, I love to cook, man. You know, to go out and eat is just to go out and eat, but it's a different environment. It's really not the food; it's the environment. You know what I'm saying? So when you go out to eat, that's what you do. But I rather cook and eat at the crib because now I'm buying things that have low chances of being infected. And that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? But I took the time, one thing I did when we kill a deer and hang it upside down and clean it, all the ticks go to the head. It's hundreds. It's crazy. Ooh. Oh. Oh. Look at that. When we kill, hey, yo, Hawaiian Joe, salute Hawaiian Joe. Salute Hawaiian Joe. And what's the little Spartan sister's name? What's her name on Hawaiian Joe?
Oh, first baby Spartan.
Yeah, the first baby Spartan. What's her name, Joe? Malia. Shout out Malia. That's a fact. But yo, he said when we kill a deer and hang it upside down and clean it, all the ticks go to the head. Hundreds. It's crazy. Look at that. And they say venison is good meat. That's crazy. That's crazy. See, the girl said if you have a bullseye, that means a tick bit you.
There's a circle and then
where
the tick bit you.
Yeah, it's a bullseye. I don't want to. I still would like to pet a deer, though. You know what I'm saying? But I get a lot of opposition about that. But I'll tell you this much. Cola Jane said deer meat is mad good. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I ate it. I ate deer meat. I had deer meat stew, and I had deer meat, and it was crazy because when it was cooked, they didn't tell me it was deer meat. I'm eating it. I said, damn, this is good. I bet. And he was like, yeah, you just say Bambi. I'm like, I just say who? Bambi. What you talking about? That was deer. I'm like, that was what? Not for real. That was. He showed me. He showed me like the part of it that they didn't cook yet. And I'm like, oh, hell no. But it was good as hell. I know, and they say deer meat is super good for you. It's true. But you But with all these viruses and the way they're carried, it makes you not want to eat it. Bison meat. I heard of bison meat. I've never tasted it before. But I heard bison meat is mad good too. Butcher Sonny said that I had buffalo and alligator burgers. Alligator burgers.
I'm an alligator.
Yeah. I'm bugging out because I'm with alligator burgers. I'm like, what you ate? A shoe? A pocketbook?
I had fried alligator.
Oh. Okay, I see it. They probably gave you the black strap, best part of the deal. Yeah, I ain't I ain't gonna lie, it was alright. You know what I'm saying? I was busting it down. It was alright. But I didn't know it was deer though. So sometimes it's mental. Jay Cartier, salute. You know what I'm saying? So now we gotta be careful about, and I'm not gonna direct this at Chinese people, no. What I'm just saying is that, throughout history, it's been coming from that side. I don't know why, but that's weird. Even during these times, you know what I'm saying? So I would just say that we have to be more careful about the way we eat and live, man. You know what I'm saying? Um, I don't know, man. Some white dude was serving them up. He said they was alligator and them things there, but it probably his family. Okay. Yeah. Bison meat is lean. Oh, Jerry McCaskill, you ate bison meat? Only we have economic differences is when we say Asia had a bad virus outbreak. Yeah, it's weird, man. I find that kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? And then it just disappeared. But they're strange. That's what I'm saying. The Black Death plague killed so many people and then it just disappeared. But now people are coming up with the strain of it. It only goes to show. Yo, I be watching all the movies, them movies with the germs and all that, and how it transform people and all that. Because I be knowing that there's a lot of things toxic, biological that we don't even have the slightest idea that is going on while as we live. They overpopulated and food touches everything in their hands. Oh, okay. This corona thing is coming. May as well go out eating Chinese food, my dude. I'm gonna make them little Chinese dude wear a plastic suit though. I mean, yo, I feel you, son. I mean, listen, I'm cautious about what I eat. I like to eat a lot of fish, man. You know what I'm saying? When I eat red meat, I try to eat lean red meat. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of things I like to eat organic too. I'm starting to really get organic on certain items. We got used to eating lettuce and tomatoes. And the other day I was eating something like it looked like somebody ripped it out of a tree, but they said that's the best lettuce to eat. Don't lie, my salad looked like somebody was walking by down the block, threw up some vinegar and some salt. I said, here's a salad, y'all. I'm looking at the joint like, what? Yo, how they gonna give me leaves? And then I went and bought from there again, just in case. It was the same thing. But they told me that that's the best type of lettuce. So the lettuce that we see, like cabbage, that it opens up and is big, they also got a certain type of other lettuce that's like leaves. Know what I mean? Y'all learn something new every day, y'all. But yo, check it, man. Salute everybody in the chat, man. I thank everybody for coming through. Y'all already know, man. The Wildcats in the building, man. The Wildcats about to get up out of here. Yo, sure that y'all always look up things, man, and research it, man. It's the best way to know about certain things and understand how to combat them if they're a threat to you. Always stay on top, never on low, you heard? And especially when it comes to knowledge, always seek more. Never be sufficed with what you think you have. You know what I'm saying? And I thank everybody for coming through. I'm about to get up out of here. Stay up. Rat. Wildlife.